Two. You can call me Two. And I just want to say thank you for coming to speak with us. But in your article, towards the end, you have a 7-part agenda.
Yes.
And on part 4, you say that we must recruit, train, and promote law enforcement personnel that possess the psychological, emotional, and cultural capacity for law enforcement work, and assess them every 3 years to ensure that they have maintained that capacity. Do you think that's like something that's legitimately like plausible? Like, do you see that as something that will can and will be done in the future?
Sure. We do it in New Jersey. When I was Secretary of State in New Jersey, the biggest problem we had was that the state police would pull people over driving on the turnpike if they were Black or Hispanic. Call it racial profiling. And they did it. And they did it every day. And they no longer do it. This is 20 years later, and we've stopped that. You see, in our state today, you must have a psychological test before you can be hired as a law enforcement person. That's not true everywhere. In our state, if you get fired for misconduct and then you go to another town to get a job in the police department, the law requires that the people that fired you tell the new department why they fired you. So here's how I want you to think about it. You're in Georgia, and in Georgia there was a time when it was legal. It was legal. Holly scared me, man. I was like, in Georgia, there's a time when it was legal to stop a Black person from eating food in a restaurant. Now, have you ever heard of a protest today to give people the right to eat food in a restaurant? No. You know why? Because we fixed that. The greatest thing about this country is that when you look at all of the challenges we had, whether it was women voting or Blacks, we have fixed problem after problem after problem. What this George Floyd video did was prove to America that Black people weren't imagining this police brutality issue. And I believe now we're in a position to fix this problem the way we fixed other problems, and then we'll move on to the next problem. We have a lot of problems, but we have more possibilities than we have problems, and we have more good people than bad people. So, was it 2? Who was that?
Yeah, Gabby too.
Oh, Gabby. All right. So I believe it, 1, because we have solved problems before. I believe it 2, because in my state, that's exactly what we have. I wrote that article based on what I know in New Jersey that can happen in other places. And I believe it's possible because today it's on more people's minds all over the world than it's ever been in history.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just got a notification that Holly has joined our call. So, Pastor,
Good.
I don't know what your time constraints are. I would love for you to stay on. I think there will probably be more questions for you afterwards, but I know Holly's got like a 10-minute window. So
I'll try to come back. I'm
Okay.
9 minutes late for a staff meeting.
You go right ahead.
I'll try to
Please
come back.
join us if you can.
All right. Thank you, Coach. But I'll be back. See you, y'all.
Okay. So I wanted to get the floor to Holly. You guys know her. We see her all the time on ESPN as a sideline reporter and just especially for our women. And most importantly, you guys got to hear from her last year when she came to More Than My Sport event at Georgia and just really shared her heart and was very transparent about her struggles in her field and the things that she had to do to get to where she is today. So I thought she'd be a great person to speak to us from her perspective as a white female who has a biracial son, and just share her heart with us about what's going on and give us some advice. So Holly, thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for having me first and foremost. I apologize. I'm rushing to the airport, so be patient with me if I have to get in a lift in the middle of this. But I wanted to make it happen because I was grateful that you asked me. I think the first thing that we need to do together is have conversations. I think that when I sit on my couch and look through social media and scroll through social media, it is causing me so much anxiety because it makes me feel like there are problems in the world that I can't solve. And I have reached out to some of my friends. I had a wonderful chat with Natalie Achanwa, who plays for the Indiana Fever. and she's biracial, and she and I have talked before because my son is biracial, and it's really hard right now for Black people in America. It is really hard for families that have mixed children and mixed families, because this narrative is that everybody's bad. You know, either the white people are bad, or the cops are bad, or the Black, you know, all the different things. And we're just putting all these labels on each other that are hurtful to families like ours. So I think it's important, what Natalie said to me, and I thought it was really great advice, is that I have to start at my house. Like, I had a Sunday dinner with our whole extended family, nieces, nephews, cousins, and I had us all sit down around the table, and we talked about race and why these things are happening and how we can be better in our family. And what I'm hoping is that I am the pebble in the pond, that then it ripples out through my community and my family, that we are having these conversations. Because I'll give you one example. I was talking to my sisters about the woman in Central Park, Amy Cooper. I don't know if you guys have seen that social media video, and just how ridiculous that was, and how she was weaponizing the police against a Black man in Central Park. There's no other way to describe that. And my sisters, you know, we live in Utah. We're very, you know, white society here. We just want to believe in the good in everybody. We're Mormon, you know, very happy, like idealistic people. And my sisters were like, well, maybe she was having a bad day, or maybe she gotten, you know, had problems, or maybe she, you know, they wanted to try to excuse what was happening in that woman's life. And I said, stop. We have to stop excusing bad behavior and address the bad behavior. Is, of course, that woman has other things. Of course, we are all heightened because of the pandemic. Of course, we are already anxious because our lives have been turned upside down. But if we don't start calling out bad behavior when we see it, then we are complicit. And so what I, you know, like what I think is important for me as a white person, I've had a lot of good conversations. You know, one of my best friends is Maria Taylor, that played there at Georgia. And she and I have been on the phone. I was on the phone with her for an hour day before yesterday, for 30 minutes yesterday, to have these conversations. I'm not going to say who the coach was, but we talked about a year ago about this coach that we both deal with that won't look her in the face, and that treats me very nicely and is really sweet and kind to me, but just doesn't address Maria, or doesn't connect with Maria in the same way. And I would always tell her, this is true. I would be like, oh, it's just because you're too beautiful. It's like staring into the sun. You're just too pretty and he can't look at you. And she called me yesterday and said, I hope you understand now, it's because he's racist. And we had this very real conversation of, I get treated one way by certain people, and in the exact same situation, she gets treated a different way. So those are the kinds of things that we have to start bringing up, calling people on. But I think it's important to do it in a respectful way, because I feel like I am a good white person. I feel like I'm a good person that has very, very multi-dimensional ethnic friend group. And I think that's been important in my life. And so I don't want people to be like, oh, well, these white people out here, these, you know, because that's hurtful to people who are trying to do good and who are trying to listen and change. So we want to listen to the experience of Black America right now and get better. But we want to be teammates. I think you guys, you know, everybody plays on teams in our lives. And I think you guys see the power of teammates. So I would hope that, you know, the white people on your team can feel free and feel like it's a safe space to say, hey, please, if I say something wrong, or if I do something that you don't like, call me on it. And I do think it's important that we listen to each other. There's no one tweet or one right way, or I'm just going to tweet this angry thing and walk away. I think this is going to be a continued conversation across America. And even though this has been going on for hundreds of years, I feel like this is day one. Like, we have to start today to be better. And I am committed to doing that. And that's why I'm just honored that Joni would ask me to be on here, and Coach Taylor would be, you know, like, even think of me as someone that she would want to give me a chance to speak to your team. That's an honor for me. And I hope you will reach out and lift me up alongside of you any chance you get, because I want to be your teammate. So I hope, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions.
Anybody have questions for Holly? Thank you, Holly. I appreciate you squeezing us in. She was doing a live show like literally 10 minutes before this, like texting back and forth. So thank you for making this happen. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure and my honor. And I want to be there. First of all, for young women, bet on women. I'm wearing my WNBA Power t-shirt because I think we have to lift women in sports up, but we're going to do a better job being good teammates together. I feel like sports is a beautiful place that we can do that.
Y'all know I have a question. So does somebody need to ask Holly a question before she gets into this lift? Because I'm going to ask a question if y'all don't.
I have a question.
Okay.
Good. Hey.
Hi, Holly. My name is Meredith. I'm the director of basketball ops with the team. If you are comfortable with sharing and your son would be okay with it, can you kind of describe what kind of conflict he's feeling right now being biracial with everything that's going on?
Yeah. Mikylin, would you feel comfortable talking to these ladies right now? They have a question.
Hey, brother.
He's right here. I'll put him on the spot. So go ahead and ask your question again. Here's my cute son.
Hi. I've actually seen both of you guys. I've actually seen both of you guys on Maria's story. I'm one of her friends. We went to school together. So very nice to meet you. My name is Meredith. I was just wondering, I'm not sure if you actually overheard the question, but if you wouldn't mind, sharing your experience or what you're kind of dealing with during this time period, being biracial.
I think the biggest thing that I've been kind of doing is just trying to like educate myself, because I like she was saying, there's a lot of conversations that need to happen. I think the best idea when there's all these conversations that need to happen is being able to have the information to facilitate the conversation. So just finding out. I mean, I've just started reading Frederick Douglass's book, and I've been reading a bunch of James Baldwin, just to see like the rhythm and rhyme of history that we can find and pinpoint the things that we actually need to change, and can make me better at having conversations with people, especially if in my experience it might be a little bit different than other Black people's experience. So making sure that we can find a common ground and have the proper education to actually talk about a lot of these things and our experiences.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question for Holly? Caitlin, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I was. So I was going to say, besides, hey, I'm Caitlin, thanks. Yeah, thanks for talking to us. Sorry, my AirPods are like cutting in and out. But besides like reaching stuff, like what are other ways that you, being a white woman, are, able to like help finding yourself like helping and stuff like that?
So I think one of the most, Maya Moore had a big function last year for the WNBA. And so I went to that, and she was teaching us that who you elect as your prosecutor, as your state prosecutor or your city prosecutor or your district or state attorney are the most important things you can do on a local level. So I hope that everybody on here, I think it's more important to be voting and registering to vote than tweeting. Right? Like, I think we all want to say what we want on social media, but the most important thing we can be doing right now is find out who is running for prosecutor in your area and district attorney, and finding out what their positions are. Do they have a history of racism? Do they have a history of misconduct? And making sure you're putting these people in power in your communities that make the decisions. That is the most important thing we can do. Secondly, I would say, I'm donating. I know you guys maybe not the same financial situation I have, but I found an activist named Sean King. You guys might want to follow him on social media. I absolutely love him. He is organized. They are doing what's called a grassroots law project. And so I am a founding donor to that, because I'm going to use my privilege and my money that I've earned to make sure I'm empowering other people. All right. Our lift is here. I love you, but I have to go or else I'll miss my flight. I hope you guys understand. But call on me again. I want to be here for you. There's no question or conversation that's too hard to have. And if you see me do or say anything, call me on it. Like, let's be teammates. This is Team Georgia, and I'm here for you.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so before I turn it over to Sherry, I know Charlotte, you wanted to have the floor for 3 or 4 minutes. So Charlotte, I'll let you speak really quickly, and then I'll turn the floor over to Sherry Riley, and she's going to help facilitate some dialogue for us and just get some more questions and conversations going amongst us as a team. So Charlotte.
Thank you, Joni, and thank you all for letting me be here. So I'm Charlotte Warren. I'm one of our counselors with the behavioral medicine staff. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And I mean, these speakers have just given so much great information, and, you know, it is about having conversations and letting your voice be heard. Right now is, you know, your time to speak, for Black people's voices to be heard. And it's also important to process the feelings. You know, so we are here as a resource to listen. It's, your voice is going to be far more powerful than mine would, but it's also my job to just help listen. A lot of people are feeling a lot of feelings right now, a lot of feelings that I can't relate to, but I can support you. And, you know, I just want all of y'all to know that we back you. You know, we are here to support you. We support the change because change is needed. And I think that they've given some really great resources. You know, so we are here. I can post the number in the chat if anyone needs anything. And just know that we're here for you.
Thanks, Charlotte. I'm going to let Doris speak to you guys briefly for a second as well before we turn it over to Sherry. I know Doris has got other commitments. So Doris, thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
As always, Coach, thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to share the space with our women's basketball program. I'll be quick here as I look at everyone because it's so good to see you all. I was reflecting on Pastor Sori's talking points, and he unpacked the nuances of systemic racism. And what I heard him say was, and it was in follow-up to the great educational video, is that the system and the rules were not created for everyone. And so as an administrator here in the Athletic Association, as we evaluate everything that we do with our programming, our support services, our policies, I want you to know that you have you have the opportunity, the option, and I would expect that you call us out if you don't feel like the foundation and the construct of the Athletic Association was designed with you in mind, your success in mind, and you being able to thrive and feel included and valued, seen and heard in the Athletic Association. So I just ask in this time of activism and speaking out that you know that we welcome that, we want that, we need that in the Athletic Association. So to reiterate, if you feel like there are things within the Athletic Association that are working against you and they're not allowing you to be your best and to learn and grow and prepare for life after being a student athlete here, that the door is open. Greg McGarrity's not on here, but I know in all of my conversations with him that he's got an open door policy and he wants to hear from you if you have issues or concerns. And I hope you know me well enough to know that it is also genuine when I say that reach out, call on us, call us out if you think that we can do better and we can be better. We're challenging every aspect of the organization right now to fully capitalize on this moment in time to affect meaningful change in our community and for you. I just close with, I love you guys. I love serving you. It is a privilege, it is an honor. And so I share the space with you humbly today saying, help us help you. and challenge us to be a part of real change as we all try to process and move forward in the most productive way. I am sorry that I for the second time, I'm going to miss Sherry. I don't know what I'm doing to myself to not have the time with you that I know I need and I really do want. But I'm here. It's been good to catch up with you all over the week, and just let us know what we can do for you. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Doris.
Mm-hmm.
So I will give the floor to Miss Sherry Riley. How many of you guys remember Sherry? She's got braids. Her hair is different. Okay, she switched it up on us. But do you guys remember Sherry talking to you in 2018 before the NCAA tournament? That would have been Maya, like y'all's freshman year. Steph, your sophomore year. She came and spoke to you guys and just really celebrated the season we had and let you guys sit in that and then offered words of encouragement as we went on to the NCAA tournament. But she's a wife, mother, daughter. She's a life coach. In another life, she was Usher's manager and managed all types of musical talents and people and still has those connections. And now she just is about empowering high achievers to stop spending like 10% of your time on things that don't matter, like how to focus on the big picture and stop spending time on things that don't matter. She actually has a book called Exponential Living. And how to achieve that. So she has, since we connected, she has checked in on me always occasionally to make sure that I'm where I need to be and centered, and I appreciate that. And she spoke to the NBA players' moms last night about everything that's going on in our country and just facilitated a great conversation. So I wanted her here and to give her space with us to move the dialogue along. So Sherry, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Coach. Guys, I want to just dive right in, and I want to share something. My best friend is currently the CEO of the Urban League in Louisville, Kentucky. So she's in the thick of everything right now. But before she was the CEO of the Urban League, she was the second in command in the mayor's office. The mayor asked her to come in when he won election, and her responsibility was over 7 principalities in the city of Louisville, Kentucky. And one of those was the maintenance of the city, of the streets, of what makes the city run. And so one morning, about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, there was this massive snowstorm in Louisville. And she went out about 6 o'clock in the morning and was absolutely just feeling herself because all the snow, there was that snow that stops the cars, all the snow had been pushed off to the sidewalks and the roads were completely clear. And so she was so proud of herself because she was like, oh my God, before everybody gets up to go to work and go to school, I did my job. The streets are clear. All the snow is pushed to the sidewalks. She was like, yes, I did that. She gets to work and there's an email. And the email was from a gentleman who said, hello, I'd missed my bus today. Because when I left my home and I got in my wheelchair to get to the bus stop, all the snow was piled up on the sidewalk and I couldn't get down the ramp to get to the bus. And I'm just asking you, can you please make sure that the sidewalks are clear so that I can make it in my wheelchair to the bus so I can make it to work on time? And what she learned by that email was everyone has privilege. I know you guys have heard a lot, and we've been talking a lot about white privilege. But the reality is in that moment, she realized as an African-American female that the fact that she could walk, her ability, her privilege to walk, didn't allow her to understand that putting the snow on the sidewalk was hindering someone who was in a wheelchair in their ability to get to work. So I want to start this I want us to focus on our commonalities so that we can be honest and talk about our differences. Is that a fit? Can we start there? If everybody's okay starting there, I just want you to say yes in the chat. Just say yes. Just say yes. I want to see. Let me open up the chat. Yes. Okay. So I want to start there, because the reality is for those of us on the call who are not, those who are white, there is a privilege that you have. And you have to own that privilege so that you can then be open to the differences. Just like those of us who walk, we have to own that that's a privilege. Because if we own that that's a privilege, then we'll have a sensitivity to those who aren't able to walk. And you know how powerful it was for my best friend as a leader to, in that moment, understand her privilege. So today I came and I wanted to do this, and I'm so honored that Coach asked me, because what I wanted to do is I wanted you guys to leave with the ability to talk with no ego, to listen with an open heart, and to really be able to go into this season as a team and as an example. But the only way you're going to come together as a team is if you be very honest with where you have commonalities, where you have privilege, where you have hurt, where you have pain, where you have frustration, where you have lack of understanding, where you have confusion. Because in all of those range of emotions, there are commonalities and there are differences, and both of them are important for you guys to be honest about so that you can function as a team. So how many of you guys, and I'm gonna date myself, Coach, I know you're gonna be there with me. How many of you have seen the movie Remember the Titans? How many? If you've seen that movie, I saw it in the chat. I saw it. I probably, okay, with all the hands I'm seeing, I probably should ask who didn't see it, right? That movie, remember, if you have not seen that movie, and if they should have it on Netflix right now, the essence of that movie is critical to what's going to bond this team in this moment. Because the reality is this: everybody's hurting. I don't care, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, male, female, everybody's hurting. Everyone has a family member that is affected, whether your family member works in the police department, whether your family member is a politician, whether your family member has been affected by COVID or the coronavirus, whether your family member has a family member like Dr. Soros talked about, a family member who's a cousin of somebody in Minnesota or Minneapolis. We are all affected. And so when we look at this range of emotions that we have, the underlying core to the range of emotions that we're all experiencing. Now, we're experiencing the range of emotions from different realities, but the core to the range of the emotions for all of us is, what do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? If that's the core of it, because for some of us, and I'm gonna speak about my truth. I grew up in a small town in Kentucky that was rooted in racism. I had an experience in high school where there were 2, 3 white people that pulled up to my car, blocked my car so I couldn't get in it. Now, they pulled up to my car, blocked my car so I couldn't get in it. When the police arrived, they took me to jail. They took me. They never even, I was like, no, I can't get in my car. They came and harassed me. They never asked any questions. They never asked what happened. They just immediately took me off. And thank God my aunt worked for the police department. My uncle was a police officer. And so they called them and said, hey, we have Sherry. But they never even asked. There was the automatic assumption that I was the aggressor. They never asked. So fast forward, I then eventually went to an all-white private school. I went on to the University of Louisville, go Cardinals. I had my Georgia Cup. I still have my Georgia Cup. But then I went to the business school. And in my class in business school, I was one of 5 African Americans. And my professors would say to me all the time, you're special, you're different. And that was so offensive to me. That was so offensive to me, because what that said was, because you are excelling, That makes you an anomaly because you are a Black woman. And when I would say to them, I'm not special, I'm not special. And what I want to say to each of you is you're not special, but you are uniquely you. And when I say you're not special, that's not from a place of minimizing you. It's absolutely from a place of empowering you, that extraordinary can be done through ordinary. When you recognize that there is something in me that matters to the world, it doesn't make me better. It doesn't put me in a separate category. It just means that when I tap into the anointing that is within me, that is uniquely mine, and when I connect that to the uniqueness that's in each of my friends, each of my teammates, each of my community activists, each of those in my church, each of those in my community, each of those in this country, when I connect my uniqueness to the uniqueness of those in my team, on my team, we then come together to do the extraordinary. So when I was talking again to my best friend, who's the CEO of the Urban League in Louisville, Kentucky, where Breonna Taylor was murdered, she's in a position right now where everyone's looking to her for direction. You guys, not on that scale, but you're athletes at a SEC school. You are leaders in the school, whether you want to be or not. And everybody is going to be looking to you guys for direction. They're going to be looking to you guys as the example. And I'm going to say to you the same thing I said to my that I said to my best friend. I said to her, I said, you know what? Everyone's looking to you for direction. And the reality is there is a lot of answers to this issue, but there's not one answer. Did y'all hear me? There's many answers to what we are dealing with right now, but there's not one answer. The same way Dr. Soares referenced the great question about needing a leader. I don't believe we need a leader. The reason Martin Luther King was called to be the face and the voice of the civil rights movement and led the youth and the masses into what has changed America and eventually changed the world is because at that time, the power structure of African Americans was only limited to the church. But because of the one movement, the civil rights movement, because of the face of that movement, Martin Luther King, because that one man stood and then others stood with him, but because of the one leader of that time, it empowered us now to have multiple leaders because there wasn't a power structure in the 60s, in the 50s that is available now. Now we have a Robert Smith in business who's a billionaire, a Bob Johnson who's a billionaire, an Oprah who's a billionaire. Now we have individuals that are on the airwaves that have voices, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, Charlemagne. Now we have individuals in politics, Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker. Now we have influencers in all of these areas. So we don't need one. We need a team. UGA doesn't need one voice. They need a team. They need a team like this team right here. Because when those students, if we come back in August, when those students come back with the areas of difference that you guys have within this small group, imagine the level of anxiety that's going to be on that campus. That's why Remember the Titans is a very important movie for you guys to go see or think back, because you guys have to be the example of how that bigger body comes back in August. Because we all know the realities of Georgia. We all know the realities of Athens. We all know that that is a microcosm. And what the challenges that you guys are having the courage now to talk through is the leadership that the bigger body is going to need to see. So when I told my speech that there's many answers, I mean, there's answers, but there's not one answer. What I want to give you guys is that you are the hero that you're looking for. You are the hero that you're looking for. You are a part of the answers that are so necessary. One, because of your age. You're young, you got energy, you got ideas, you got fortitude. Two, because you've already overcome to be a female in sports. Three, because you got leadership from Coach Taylor to be more concerned with who you are as women than who you are as players, because she understands if I can help you be better women, then I can coach you to be better players. But her responsibility is to you as women, you as players, and then you guys as a team. And then you all own the responsibility to get out on that court and deliver. Because the more you deliver on the court, the bigger your voice becomes, the more impact you're going to have with that student body. Because that student body is going to need the unified voice that's going to come from this community right here. So as you guys understand that you're the hero, you're the hero, you're the hero. In the chat box, say, I'm the hero. In the chat, I'm the hero. Please say it. I'm the hero. In the chat box, I am the hero. I'm the hero. I'm the hero. I'm the hero that I'm looking for. I'm the hero that I'm looking for. And as you own that, I'm the hero, then what that allows you to do is it allows you to understand, and I need y'all to really hear what I'm about to say. It allows you to understand that all the ways of your parents and all the ways of your environment and all the ways of what you've learned up until this point is not the full reality for everyone else. My parents, there's some things that they taught me because it was a necessity. They grew up in the 50s. It was a necessity. When my grandfather said, girl, you can't trust white people. You can be friends with them, but don't trust them. It was a necessity for him growing up in the 20s and the 30s. But that truth, as much as I love my grandfather, that's not my reality. That's not my reality. Because every white person is not against me, just like every white person is not for me, and just like every Black person is not for me. So there's things that our parents, the environment we grew up in, this is the age to challenge, not your parents, but to challenge the ideals that you grew up in. Because those ideals that they had may have been a necessity for survival in that season, but their sacrifice is what has put you in a new season that you now get to stand on their sacrifice to make different decisions, to make different choices. Are all police officers bad? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But all African-American males are not thugs. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Every Hispanic person is not from Mexico. There's all of these biases that we have. My daughter has been correcting her all week because she says everyone who looks Asian is Chinese. And she's been educating, my 13-year-old, she's educating my mother because my mother doesn't realize everybody who looks Chinese is not Chinese, because it's our responsibility in our expanded awareness to continue to question our parents, our environment, and the realities of what we've learned up until this point. And when you question those ideals, it does not mean you don't love your parents. It does not mean that it's an indictment of their reality, because you are the hero. You are the hero. And when there were some realities with my own dad, God bless his soul, when I learned and grew, I went back and taught my dad. I went back and taught my dad, and he was open to learn because his sacrifice put me in a position to then learn. So I'm gonna say this and then I want you guys to talk. You don't need validation. You don't need confirmation. and you don't need permission to be the hero in your own life. I'm going to say that again. You don't need validation, you don't need confirmation, and you don't need permission to be the hero in your own life. Being the hero in your own life means you get to make the decisions. You get to make the decisions and you get to choose. Now, you can continue to choose what you know in your spirit is wrong, or you can choose to be courageous and make different decisions. You can choose to hold on to the anger that you feel that's going to keep you from having open, honest conversation with your Black or white teammate, or you can choose to have the courage to make a different decision. So you don't need validation, you don't need confirmation, and you don't need permission. You just need the courage to decide. And what I want you to focus on when we wrap up tonight, and I want you to process this as you're asking me questions. What does this moment make possible? As bad as it is. And guys, we're hurting. We're hurting. We're not just hurting because of the murders that we've witnessed and the fact that we don't know if they're going to be convicted. We're hurting because we've been locked in the home for 3 months with COVID-19. We don't know what tomorrow looks like. I can't even sit here and say to you guys, you're absolutely going to be in school in August. We don't know. We don't know if you're going to have fans in the stands. We don't know. So we're hurting, and we're all hurting for different reasons. So there's a commonality in our hurt as we respect the differences in how the hurt is being processed. So as you think about the question, what does this make possible? What does this make possible? What does this make possible for you as an individual? Is this your opportunity to speak to your family, as Holly talked about, in a way that you've known for a long time? You've known for a long time because you've been exposed. Does this make possible for you to become a leader that you've been nervous about being in your own journey, in being your own hero? What does this make possible for the change that I know is needed at the University of Georgia? I serve on the board of directors for the Alumni Association for the University of Louisville. And we had our alumni board meeting this morning. And that's what we had to focus on. Guys, there are some racial challenges at the University of Louisville. What does this make possible? And here's the thing, as an alumni, I'm only going to be able to do so much. That's why I'm so excited to have this conversation with you guys, because you are the difference that the University of Georgia needs. You are the example that women's basketball needs. You are the example that your family and your friends need to see. So when you think about what this makes possible, I want you to always remember that you're the hero, you're the hero, you're the hero. And when you start with, I'm the hero, and when you end with, what does this make possible? That's when the chemistry on this team is going to bond even more. That's when the unity on this team is going to get even more strengthened. Because if you're the hero, managing your responsibility, open to hear, open to listen, completely open to, there are some different realities that you have to absolutely be open to hear. And then allow yourself to ask, what does this make possible? I firmly believe that you guys are going to come out of this, not just a better team, but you're going to come out of this with an absolute paradigm shift in the direction that your lives are going to take, which is going to completely impact everything you do moving forward from this moment in time. So I will open up, because I definitely want to, I want to hear, and I asked Coach before we jumped on, I really wanted to facilitate. the conversation that I believe is necessary for you guys to have. So I'm going to open it up, and whoever wants to jump in from here, we'll definitely go from there. Now I know y'all have something.
I have a question.
Okay, thank you, Sloan.
Hi, Sherry. I'm
Hello.
Sloan. Thank you for that. That was beautifully said. My question for you is, I'm the dietitian, and in my field, about 90 to 95% of us are white. And I'm asking you, what can I do to be a leader in my field, but also in my department at UGA?
And let me ask, when you say a leader within your field, are you meaning as far as how you work with the community outside of, like the community you serve as a dietitian?
Yes, but primarily my athletes and my fellow staff members. I'll be honest with you, as a white individual, I get nervous with saying things just because I have Black friends who say, you know, or they don't really say this to me, but I guess on social media, you know, you're white, you don't really have an opinion on the matter, and I want to respect that. But at the same time, I did text the team and the staff members earlier this week, and I just said, I don't want my silence to be mistaken as acceptance of what's going on. So I did put myself out there, and I'm glad I did. I hope I didn't say the wrong thing because it was from the heart, but I am careful with what I say, because even though my heart is in the right place, it might be misconstrued. So how do I articulate what I'm trying to say in the right way, if that makes sense?
That makes total sense. And I've had this conversation quite a bit over the last few days. And what I would encourage you with is, and I'm very transparent, I'm very direct, for those of you who were there when I talked a couple years ago, is you have to, Sloan, you have to be able to have the courage and the strength to get whatever feedback comes. You don't get the right, hear me, you don't get the right to be sensitive, right? Because there's so many layers of hurt that silence has allowed to exist and to continue to manifest. And what I want you to have is the courage to make the mistake. That's why I say you cannot fear taking the punch. You've got to be strong enough to take the punch so that you can have the courage to speak and learn. Because there's so many layers, there's so many different realities. So you may say something to me because of my background that may not offend me, but I still know it's out of order, and I'm going to be able to hear you, I'm going to be able to share with you, and hopefully I'm going to be able to educate you. But you may then say something and another person of color, another Black person hear it, and their response to you is very different. But we're both coming from the same place of hurt. So what I would encourage you to do is get strong enough to take the punch, because what's most important is for you to absolutely try, for you to say from your heart, learn from what you say, because what I'm asking of you, Sloan, is what I've had to do as a Black woman for 52 years. I've had to absolutely speak, and it got me in trouble because it was out of order. Sherry, Black people can't say that. You know, you, baby, don't say that. That'll get you in trouble. Oh, but you, no, we don't. This called, Black people are taught from a very young age how we act around white people, what we say and what we don't say, this is right and this is wrong. So what I'm saying to you, Sloan, is not that I'm making you do something that the people that you are scared of offending we've been doing it our entire lives. So I want you to have the strength to take the punch. I want you to have the courage to make the mistake, because I want you to learn from it. And the more you learn from it, the more you're going to go, okay, now I get that. Okay. And that's going to continue to allow you to be the actions that your heart, because I believe your heart is, I want to be better. I want to understand. But it's in your actions and your movement that allows you to get educated in that place and space. The other thing I would say is back to the privilege, the story I started with. And that is when you understand that there's a privilege that you have that you didn't have to understand what, how to communicate. And so now you want to. And that person of color, that Black person you're talking to, giving them the freedom to then be whatever the emotion is, knowing that it's not personal against you, it's just tapped into something that they've had to deal with, but allowing yourself, and here's the last thing, after being strong, after having courage, stay committed. Stay committed to talking. Don't allow 1 or 2 or 3 incidences to make you go silent again. Stay committed to talking, because the most important thing that you can do right now as a white American is to continue to let your voice be heard when you're speaking on behalf and speaking with those who need your voice to be heard. So have the strength, have the courage, and stay committed.
Okay.
Does that help?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
So here's what I want to say, ladies. I don't want you guys tomorrow or later tonight go, man, Coach, I want to ask Sherry. I should have asked Sherry. No, 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 no. This is the time you ask. This is the time. And here's the thing. It's not even about asking me a question as much as it's about starting the conversation. Because you may direct the question or the conversation in this environment, but it's not for me to answer. It may be for the community, for the team, to hear your thoughts and allow us to have this open dialogue in a safe place. Because one of the biggest challenges that you guys have right now because of COVID-19 is because you're not together. You're not together. So every opportunity that Coach brings y'all together through technology, y'all have to act like you're in the locker room. Y'all have to communicate. Y'all have to connect. Y'all got to big up each other, because one of the biggest challenges that you guys aren't responsible for is you're not together right now. So you feel like an individual because you're home. You got to take advantage of these opportunities every Thursday to absolutely break down the barriers of being at home and be united as a team. You have to create the chemistry in this moment of looking at a computer like you were sitting in the locker room. It's so critical. I think someone raised their hand. I think Jenna was pulling her hair. I thought you was raising your hand.
I have a question, Sherry. My name is Lovey. I work in behavioral medicine. What's your perspective on why acknowledgement is so important? One thing that we've heard is, we've been friends for so long, or we have this relationship. Why does acknowledgement define the relationship going forward?
And when you say acknowledgement, meaning for the person to start talking about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the reason the reason it's so important to the Black community is that we've been upset about your silence through the entire friendship. We have been upset about the silence. I go to Victory World Church. My pastors are white. It's the most diverse church in the U.S. It's 130 nationalities at the church. My daughter, I'm a founding partner of the John Maxwell team. I've got all these environments, and to be honest, for the last 4 years, I've been very hurt by the silence. Very hurt. So the reason it's so important now is because we've been hurt by the silence. We've been hurt by the people that we know. We know your heart. We know who you are. We know that you're an ally. We know that you genuinely love and respect and care about communities other than your own. But like Dr. Martin Luther King said, but it's your silence that's most damaging. So the reason it's so important now is it's always been important. It's just now you're open to hear us. You're open to listen. You're open to act. And I was asked this question the other day. Why are white Americans now speaking up? I was asked that in a forum like this. Why now? Why now? Why now? And the answer that I gave, and I'll answer it this way, Lovey, is that there's a tipping point. And in this tipping point, because of COVID-19, the murders of innocent African Americans is not new. And the reality is the Ahmaud Arbery, the Breonna Taylor, the George Floyd, the young man in Indianapolis, his name escapes me right now, that are caught on video. There's probably 15 to 20 to 30 more, unfortunately, that weren't caught on video, right? So the reality is not that the murders are new. The perfect storm that has happened is that COVID-19 made people stop and see it. If this had happened in COVID-19, white Americans and others would have been busy. They would have been running to meetings. They would have been taking their kids to lacrosse practice. They would have been going to volleyball practice. They would have been running to their church groups. They would have, and everyone could continue to be distracted. But because of COVID-19, because we could not move, all the distractions were eliminated. White Americans couldn't look away, and they saw it. They've been seeing it, but they saw it. And because they couldn't look away, it created a tipping point that one white American, another white American, another white, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another, to where now you have this movement. So the reality is there are people like Sloan. I'm so grateful for your question, because Sloan is one example of millions of white Americans who are saying, I know I want to speak. I know I want to speak. How do I do this? What do I do? And there is a movement around the world, because there's 80,000 in Germany, 50,000 in Paris, right? Around the world, talking about this one conversation of racial injustice in America. So there's that voice. Then there's the moment. And this is Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, young, old. There's the moment. There are businesses that are going to donate for the moment because their diversity inclusion executives said this is the right thing to do for the PR of the moment. And there's those that they're going to participate for the moment. And then there are those who could care less either way. Now, the reality is this. Are you in the movement because you really want to see the real change? Are you in the moment? And as soon as something else comes up, you're going to move on to that? Or are you the person that really, I don't even see where there's a problem? That's why people are speaking up, I believe, Lovey, now, is because there's no distractions. People have had to lock in. It has become a movement. There is a moment that is giving people license to speak. And then there's those who, honestly, it doesn't matter. For me, I pray that the continuation of the people who genuinely want to see the change will stay committed and consistent long enough, like Dr. Sori said, that this will be the moment that my 13-year-old daughter can look back to and say, that didn't happen again. Just like Dr. Sori said, we can walk in restaurants and have no fear to sit down where we want to eat. I'm praying that this is that moment. This is that movement. And those who don't care, their voices are going to be so low that it doesn't matter what they say. Because when you take the movement in the moment and you double that, the people who don't want it to happen, their silence will then be what no one hears anymore. Does that answer that for you, Lovey?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sherry, I have a question. I'm Charlotte Warren, one of the counselors. So my husband is working with our community, our county, with the Diversity and Inclusion Office. Thankfully, this is the first year that we have had an officer, but they have a lot of work to do. But so I had him ask her today, what are the top things to help move forward. And one of the things she said was creating a safe space for these conversations for everyone. So can you speak a little bit about how to create that safe space for those conversations?
Oh my God, what Coach is doing right here. I believe that we can't be afraid of different opinions. We don't need the same opinions all sitting at the table. We can't be afraid of having the conversation. We can't be afraid of talking about the policies of Donald Trump and the racist rhetoric that he speaks. Whether you voted for him, whether you believe in his policies, you still have to admit that there is racial divide that the president of this country is saying. And it's not an indictment of your political views, but it is a reality about what this person says. And when we're able to be that direct and that honest with no ego, remember where I started, with open hearts to really listen. Because the only thing I'm convinced of, Charlotte, is I can't convince you of anything. And we also have to not be afraid of leaving the conversation still on two different pages. Because if you listened and learned, you don't have to agree. You don't have to agree. And I think one of the challenges is we want to put everyone in a room and we want everyone to leave and we want everyone to agree. Versus, I want you to listen. I want you to learn. Now, if some things change for you and if some things change for me, that is a part of the goal. But if we don't agree, I'm still going to respect you and you respect me. So we just have to, and here's the thing, there's not an answer, there's many answers. Charlotte, I would just say, start. Here's a start. What's the next group? What's the next conversation that your husband can put together? And then after that, what's the next group and the next conversation that can be brought together? And I'm an advocate of having the leaders or the group or the community come together in a small group before they go have the big open forum with 500 people. Because here's what I found, is when people want to go have the big group of 500 people, it's about their ego and their agenda and not about real change and making a real difference. Because how do you work out your differences for the group if you ain't on the same page and you haven't even talked through what we're going to actually accomplish together in a small group? So Coach and I got on and talked because her and I had to be aligned before I could come on here and try to bring the 20 some of you guys together. And now the 20 of you guys have to keep talking so that you guys can then be a part of the athletic department at UGA as a whole. And there has to be an alignment with the entire athletic department, administrators, teams, facilitators, before you guys can then go lead the school body. So I would say, Charlotte, identify the smaller groups before you try to go out and talk to the masses, because that's when you just have chaos, because then you got multiple voices instead of one unified conversation, one unified direction. And again, everybody is not going to leave agreeing, but as long as you can keep the communication to a point where people can listen and learn, and then you move forward. Does that help, Charlotte?
Yeah, yes, it does. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was a lot of wisdom. I was also kind of thinking just like on an individual basis, maybe how the players can create that safe space to talk to each other, because everyone's experience and perspectives and backgrounds are so different, ensuring that even just between themselves, they can have that safe space.
I'm plugging up my computer. It's about to die. Yes. And I was actually going to encourage that, Charlotte. And Coach, if I'm speaking out of line, I apologize in advance. But I would encourage, and I don't know what the communication is amongst you guys now, because you aren't together, right? It would be different if you were on campus, but what my daughter, she's 13, and I'm encouraging her, because she has, a lot of her friends are white. Most of her friends are white. She hasn't talked to any of them. And today I'm like, call them, call your friends. Because a part of her is like, right? Because she doesn't talk. So I think, Charlotte, if I'm answering the question, if I'm understanding the question, I would encourage for the team, the individuals, to begin reaching out and having that communication. And here's what I would encourage for this group here. If you are really hurt because you feel like you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, whether you're Black or whether you're white, if you are really hurt, really, really hurt, then it is most critical that you reach out and talk to someone who you feel has a different view of yours after this call. Because I hope I've empowered you to listen with an open heart, listen without ego, and learn. And even if you just say, I don't have anything I want to say, I just want to listen. And like I shared earlier, and be able to take that punch, whether you're Black and the person says, I don't understand why you're upset, or whether you're white and you're saying, I don't understand why you're upset, be able to take the punch. Because that is where the real change is going to happen, is when you communicate, when individuals communicate that are really on opposite ends of the spectrum with no ego, and they're able to just listen and learn. Again, you may walk away and not agree. So to the extent that you can facilitate and encourage those individual or small group conversations with consistency, and that's the key, with consistency. One conversation is not going to do it. There has to be the consistency of the communication.
Hi, my name is Courtney. I work in our student services department, and just had a question. We've talked, this work can be heavy. These conversations can be heavy, and just dealing with all the emotions. And as we continue to, not just be in this moment, but sustain the movement. So in addition to some things we've talked about, I know a lot of us are people of faith. And in addition, having community and relying on our community and resources, how have you taken care of yourself throughout this? And how can our students do the same? And our staff, all of us, really, how can we do that?
Oh, Courtney, thank you for that question. And I am not going to cry, I promise you. I'm telling myself that. I have literally every day, all day, I have every day, from the moment I wake up throughout the day until I go to bed, I just say over and over, 1 Peter 5, 5 through 10. 1 Peter 5, 5 through 10. And it starts with humble yourself. Humble yourself. Humble yourself. And that's where it's had to start for me. Everything that I'm saying to you guys, if you strip away my words, I've said them in a way that is people can receive it. But if you really dissect it, everything I've said has started with humble yourself. From the beginning, when I talked about privilege, what was I saying to you guys? Humble yourself. Charlotte, when you ask, what do? It starts with humbling ourselves. So 1 Timothy 5, it starts with humble yourself. Humble yourself. And then it goes on and it says, for the Lord He will lift you up in due season. That's why we don't have to fight to absolutely agree, because when you humble yourself and you communicate, eventually, and they're listening, God is going to allow your words. Some water, some plant, but God gives the increase. Humble yourself, because in due season, God will lift you up. Then it goes on and says, cast your care upon the Lord, meaning all your hurt, your anger, the person you're talking to, they cannot relieve you of that hurt or anger. Do y'all hear that? They can't. So the challenge is when we have these conversations, we want that person, if Charlotte and Ashley was talking and Sloan was in the room and Stephanie was there, they're going to want the four of them to relieve them of their hurt. And they can't. And underneath all of that, you're going to be frustrated because why can't you, Sloan, why don't you understand is what Stephanie's saying. And Stephanie's saying, come on. And Sloan, you're saying, but Stephanie, I didn't do it. Why are you blaming me? And so you're in this conversation wanting each other to relieve you of the pain. But the only person that can relieve you of the pain as people of faith, and I'm not trying to put my faith on anyone, but thank you, Courtney. The only one that can relieve you of the pain is God says, cast your cares on me. And then that Bible verse goes on to say, resist, because the enemy is roaming around like a lion. He just wants to destroy. Whether it's the spirit of the enemy or whether it's people, there are groups spiritually and here that don't want you guys to come together. They don't want to see this unity. That's why it's even more important that you come together, that you keep the chemistry, that you unify. And then it goes on to say, resist, steadfast in the faith. Resist, steadfast. You got to resist your urge to lash out. You got to be faithful. You got to be faithful and hopeful that change will come because you're the hero you're looking for. You got to be hopeful. You're the hero you're looking for. And then the Bible verse goes on to say that, once you resist and you stay steadfast in the faith, then it says, because the suffering you're going through, everybody else is going through it as well. Oh my God. I don't care if you're Black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're male. I don't care if you're female. Everybody is hurting about something. It may not be racial injustice, but everybody's hurting about something. And when you understand that everybody's hurting about something, it gives you a compassion that your hurt may not be your hurt, but the hurt is still painful. And then it goes on to say, because the suffering that you're experiencing for a little while, eventually it's going to be over. And God will perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. That's when I said, what does this make possible? Because when you know that the suffering that we're going through, individually, collectively as a team, and as a country, and as a world, when you know that there is going to be a point where you will be perfected, established, settled, and strengthened. Remember when I told Sloan, you got to be strong enough to endure so that you can get the courage to make a change. So for me, Courtney, every day during this, my self-care has been to find that thing that feeds my spirit, find that thing that allows me to be the hero in my own life. Now, for other people, it may not be the word of God. For other people, it may be what was referenced earlier. You may need to go educate yourself. You may need to find those books that allow you to be educated. I keep telling my 13-year-old daughter, baby, I need you to be informed so you can be confident and have courage. Because your dad and I made a decision on where we are educating you in school, but it's also our responsibility to educate you as who you are as a Black woman and a leader. So you have to be informed. For others, it may be you got to get off social media. Your self-care means turn off social media, turn off the news, and allow yourself to just get that out of your spirit. And you may just need to check in. I'm going to watch the news for 15 minutes at this time. You know what? It's all the same. I got it. Ain't nothing major. I'm going to check out. You may need to get off social media. For some of you, it may mean that you need to just talk to those friends and family that you just haven't really connected with because you've been doing this and this. So whatever that thing, whatever your need is for self-care that allows you to get your superpower so that you can be the hero in your life, that's what's most important. So my self-care has been 1 Peter 5:5-10. That's how I empower myself. But Courtney, everybody, find that thing or those things that empower you for your need of self-care, because it's critical. And it was referenced earlier. We have all been through psychological abuse, starting with the quarantine. There was an absolute mental punch that we all took. And then on the back of it, we went into this. We are all suffering, all Americans and around the world, we're all suffering through some form of PSTD. because it was unprecedented times to be on lockdown, to walk into a grocery store and see all the cabinets bare. That there is trauma in that we have to be conscious of how we feel and refill our spirit and our soul. So thank you, Courtney. I hope that answered your question.
It did. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything else they want to share, question they want to ask, or input that they want to give? Can I tell y'all, my husband's over here waving because him and my daughter are about to go to lacrosse practice. So yeah, I am still a wife and a mom and in the midst of it all.
Are we you up, Sherry? Do you need to go?
No, I told you, Coach, and I meant it. I'm here as long as you need me and as long as the team needs me to be here.
Okay.
So anyone else have anything you want to share, or any input that you want to provide, or a question that you want to ask? Meredith said a word. Amen. Thank you, Meredith. So I am looking. Coach, I don't think I see anyone.
Nobody
Miss
has
Sherry, I got something that's kind of unrelated real quick.
Okay.
I just want to tell you, we one of our former student athletes who was here last time you came and spoke still will come up in the office, and whenever she leaves, she'll tell everybody, show up in your greatness. Every time. So I just want to know you have made an impact for her.
Ah, I love that. Yes. Next time she comes, please tell her that I said I appreciate that. I do.
For sure.
Well, guys, Coach, if there's, I will throw it to you. I'm here, however long you need me. And I'm always here whenever you need me. If we come out of COVID and I come there, or if we do it via technology, I'm always here. You guys I'm not going to go as deep as Dr. Soares with Rutger, but I am a card. But you guys have continued to just grow deeper and deeper up in my heart with my Cardinals. So I appreciate the opportunity to continue to share with you guys. I'll tell you this, Coach, I had my UGA gear on, and I was actually in Louisville, and yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, right? And my girlfriends was like, Sherry, like you got, because I was literally getting ready to go on campus, and my girlfriend was like, you gonna wear that on campus, right? And I did. Actually, I did wear it on campus. I kept my women's basketball UGA gear on. Now, I didn't stay on campus long, but I did represent. I did go on campus with my UGA gear on.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Sherry or any other comments? Players, nothing. You guys put a lot of really good stuff in our group chat about your concerns and your thoughts. Nobody has anything they want to talk about, speak about, share. I think, go ahead, whoever said I do.
Me. Hi, Sherry, I'm Maya, and I do remember you from way back when, 2018. My question for you, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what has this moment made possible for you personally and maybe like your family?
Yeah, what this has made possible, I'll say the first thing is the level of awareness for my daughter. And she is, she's such a leader, but it's allowing us to help guide her through this in a way that is very intimate and personal and impactful. For me personally, being very transparent, it has really renewed my help, because like I said, and I mean, renewed my hope, because like I said, I was that person that was extremely hurt and frustrated by the silence of individuals, white Americans, that I truly knew were allies, that I truly knew knew what the wrongs that they saw and were silent. So I'm so encouraged by these conversations. I'm so encouraged by Sloan and Charlotte asking the questions. I'm so encouraged by the fact that this is a moment that I believe we can all get better. And then the last area that what it's made possible is I believe that it's going to mobilize everyone that wasn't mobilized to vote, not just in their presidential elections, but as Holly said, in every election. But most importantly, I think it's allowed us to be even more educated in what the voting process is, your local, your state, as well as your national. And the reason that is so important, that's not a Black thing, that's not a white thing, that's not a young thing, that's not an old thing, that's not a rich thing, that's not a poor thing. That is an American thing. And when I talk about focusing on what unifies us versus just only shouting about our differences, what this makes possible is the level of energy that I'm seeing from those that weren't as energized to really get involved. And I believe that what it makes possible is real change. It's not going to happen overnight. And honestly, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And then the last thing I'll say, what it made possible for me personally is it's released me from my own fears. The reason that I say you don't need validation, you don't need confirmation, and give yourself permission is because that's what I've been saying to myself. Sherry, you don't need validation, you don't need confirmation, and you do not need permission. So for me personally, it has allowed me to truly grow out of my own comfort zone and really move as my own hero in my own life. That's what it's done for me personally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. And I remember you. It's good to see you again.
You too.
Thank you, Maya. Anybody else have a question, comment? Just want to express how they feel, anything?
I have a question.
Okay, Javin.
So when it comes down to having these tough conversations, my question is where to start. Just because, like, over the past couple of days, obviously everybody's overwhelmed and filled with a lot of emotions. So where would be the best place to start for that conversation?
You're talking about specifically for you guys as a team? Yeah, you've already started. You've already started. Coach created the environment tonight for you to start. I think the next step in where you go from here is, and Coach, again, if I'm out of order, I apologize in advance. But I think it would be great for you guys as a team, and you may be doing this already, but after this tonight, and I mean like immediately after, like first thing tomorrow afternoon, I would recommend you guys as a team, without the coach, without any of the administrators, like just the team, just you guys as a team with no ego, open to listen, open to hear, because just because you're Black doesn't mean you have the same shared experience, right? So I would recommend you guys coming together as a team without anyone else other than the women who put on the shoes, put on the uniform, and get out on that court. You guys come together and have an honest conversation, listening first. And in that honest conversation, again, just because you're the same race doesn't mean you have the same experience. And if you can be open and honest and understand that whether you're white or Black, this is about us sharing our experiences to see where we have our commonalities, so we can listen to our differences, so that we can create a chemistry and a unity, so that we can be a better team, so that we can be a better leader for our school, an example for our school. But what I would say is, I would highly recommend the next step, just being you guys coming together and really, really talking as a team. That would be my recommendation for the next step, because you've already started. Coach, I'm sorry if I'm out of order.
No, that's perfect. You're fine. I would say that should be over Zoom and not a text thread.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Please don't text. Definitely Zoom. Thank you for adding that. Yes. Please make sure it's Zoom, because you need to see. If I could just take 2 seconds on that, if we could literally, I say all the time, we are the most unsocial age group in the age of social media, right? Because we text and because we DM and yes, please, please, you need to see the face. You need to see the heart. You need to hear. You need to not be distracted. And then you also need to really understand what a person is saying. And the way we learn is through what we see, what we hear, and how we move. And when you're texting, you eliminate all of those. You eliminate what you hear, you eliminate what you see because you're reading, you can't see their body, and you eliminate the tone of what you hear when you text. And the way we learn is by all three of those. So thank you, Coach, for adding that.
Thanks, Javin. Anybody else? Those both were really good. A good question, Maya, and a good question, Javin, too.
Now, I have one more with that. Javin, will you take the lead in setting up that call with the team?
Yeah, I will.
Wonderful. Yeah, because the key is don't make it hard. Don't make it hard. You know, one of the things we do, it's called messy progress. It's called messy progress. That's why I loved Sloan's question. It's called messy progress. Don't overthink it. Don't make it too hard. Just move. Just start. I'm looking. I think we got anyone else that want to add anything? These have been some amazing questions. Absolutely amazing questions, which says a lot. It says that you guys are all genuinely in a place of learning and listening. And so I commend you guys, and I definitely want to commend you on your attention. I'm very in tune to audiences, even through Zoom, and you guys are listening and you guys are present. And that says a lot about the character of you all as individuals, the character of this team. It says a lot about your commitment, that you genuinely do want to hear and listen and learn, because everyone's present. And I've been flipping back and forth. I've been looking for you because I was going to call you out. If I knew you weren't present, I was going to call you out. And every last one of you are present. And to be very honest, you didn't have to be, because you are sitting in the privacy of your own home. But you've been present. So I commend you. I highly commend you, because I've been doing these calls with adults that aren't present. And you guys have every excuse, and you haven't used any of them. So I commend you all. Yes, very, 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 very impressed. But it's what I experienced 2 years ago, so I'm not shocked. I just continue to be blown away at the excellence of what you guys are doing there.
Thank you, Sherry. If you guys don't have anything else for Sherry, I'll turn it over to Lovey and Courtney, and they'll close this out. And then while they're talking or while they're getting ready to speak, if there's anything else you guys have, this is the time. And again, I think tomorrow is going to be great for you guys. Where we have to move forward, and it's the conversations I've had with some of you individually, is we don't deal with confrontation well. We don't deal with hard conversations really well. And Sherry said it, you know, normally we would be together, but we're not. And so what can't happen is our fear of taking the punch, like she said, silences us. And it draws a wedge because we're not together. We've got to come, same thing with COVID. I keep saying, how are we going to be better when we come out of this? It's the same thing. How are we going to be better on the other side of this? Better together. And so I just want to make sure we've created a space for you guys to have dialogue. Hopefully some of the questions that people have asked will help you now have starter conversations with the people you need to have them with, whether that's in this Zoom or in your families or your other friends or your high school teammates or whatever that looks like for you. what I don't want to happen is for us to get off this call and we start having side conversations, because that's what we do as a team. That's who we've proven ourselves to be. And that's what can't happen. Okay. That's what cannot happen. So whether it happens now or happens tomorrow and Javin organizes y'all's team phone call, we need to make sure we're all aligned. And again, that doesn't mean we all agree, but that we all sit down and we listen and we allow people to speak their truth. So if nobody else has a question right now, I'll turn it over to Courtney and Lovey.
Kind of hard spot to share. But I just want to remind you all, it's uncomfortable. We get it. It's uncomfortable for everyone. And 3 things: continue to have patience. Everything that we go through teaches us a lesson, right? And we've been dealing with, I've been home since March 16th. So some of you have been home longer because you had a spring break before that. Take the lesson that COVID has taught us, which is patience. And be patient with the world, be patient with your surroundings, be patient with yourself. Acknowledge your love for one another, acknowledge your love for humans, and allow that to be what motivates your heart when you get up in the morning, and when you lay down at night, because I know often we have ruminating thoughts when we lay down. So use that love to help you to facilitate, push to the next thing. And then provide empathy to one another. Empathy is the ability to understand and share feelings for one another. So be empathetic in all your actions.
And I just want to first say thanks, Coach, and for all of y'all for just letting me come into space today. I walked away feeling I was taking notes. I'm going to be reading 1 Peter tonight. So I just feel like this is really good. And for us, as staff, I think it's been reiterated by coaches and administrators, but, we're here for you. So that's really, the first thing I want to say. I've had the chance to talk to a lot of students, a lot of staff this week. And, as Sherry mentioned, we're all in pain. And so, but I've also been inspired. And, as you said, I think one thing that has, this moment is making possible is just true communication and open dialogue and true movement towards, change. And we know it's going to be a process. We have to have patience for process, like Lovey was saying, but, I think we can all get there together, and that starts with the commitment. So I just applaud you all for, just being in there. We've, as I know we've talked a lot about, I've heard that several times, when you hear something in your spirit several times, it's been on that this is beyond a moment. This is a movement. And so, in terms of programs, I've talked to a lot of you all, this may be not the time, but, we're doing some diversity and inclusion program, which I'll be leading. We have a group of students that want to help and that have ideas. They've already come together and said, hey, what are we going to do next? And so, we're ready. So, you're welcome. I'll put my number in the chat. You're welcome to reach out about that. But bigger than that, I think, just talk with each other, allowing yourselves to process this. I think that's really important in whatever ways that you feel are necessary. And again, just knowing that, it's family. We say that all the time, here at UGA. And I think these are the moments where that is really being put to the test. And so we're family, and, we want to be here to support each other, love each other, and help each other through this and grow through this too. So anything, again, I appreciate you all allowing me to be a part of that. Anything I can do to help you, serve you, support you, I'm here for you. So.
Thank you, Lovey. Thank you, Courtney. Before we close out, does anybody have anything? Staff, coaches, players?
Can I say something?
Of course.
Just want you guys to know that we're all here. I know like Courtney and Lovey just said that, but we really are. It's not lip service here for us. I can say as a staff member, probably my favorite thing about our staff is, like, if I need to go in Joni's office and ask her something, or Maria or Lovey or Courtney, whoever it is, they're willing to listen and then to help me understand. And also that saying I don't know is okay if you sincerely don't know. I've had my eyes open to a lot of stuff by having conversations like we're talking about having. But I'm not going to say I don't know just to like get out of something, you know? So whenever you guys are having these conversations, be mindful that there are things that people who aren't like you may not understand or may not know, but be willing to help them understand that and kind of guide them through it.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Ryan.
Hey, Johnny, Steph is going to talk about a video idea that we're working on.
Okay.
Okay, so me, Lovey, and Courtney, we've been talking a lot about like stuff we can do as student athletes, and like use our voice with the platform that we have. So we thought of a couple, like a video idea of, you know, when they use those like those white pieces of paper and they'll flip them and stuff like that. So we were thinking about doing something like that and just like using our voice, and it could be anybody, like a student athlete. We want to try to get some coaches, and not only like the Black athletes. We want to get a diverse look on there too, just so we can show that UGA is like a united front and we're a show solidarity. So if any of you guys want to be in the video, feel free. You can contact me, Lovey, or Courtney, or but yeah, that's basically the kind of the idea. And also, like, if there's any other issues or like concerns, like you can feel free like to reach out, because we also want to like not only talk about this today, but also talk about how we can like use our voice as student athletes and make the UGA community better for the rest of the time we're there and for other student athletes that come after us.
Thanks, Steph. Am I the only one who doesn't know what she's talking about? What are we talking about with the white? What are you?
It's like, oh, go ahead, Lovey.
Now, you remember they would hold a piece of paper, and instead of talking, they would.
Oh, got it.
On the paper. Yeah.
Okay. And then the next person has it, and it's like a conversation, but you're flipping the thing, like you're.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm here.
And one idea, one of the football athletes talked about, you know, and there's a big kick all around the nation in discussing loving them off of their field of play. You know, so maybe you have a basketball athlete outside of the gym in street clothes, and it says, "Love me out here."
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. That's huge right there. That one is. I like that one a lot. Cool. Okay. Well, Sherry, again, thank you. We this has been so helpful for me. I certainly know that even if a question wasn't asked, everybody learned something today, and hopefully can take what you gave us, what Holly gave us, and what Pastor Soares gave us, and that will help drive conversations and give us confidence and give us, number one, like to empower us to go educate ourselves on what we don't know. Because I will say to even our young Black student athletes, like, you need to know your history, you know, and make sure that you know your history up until this point and not just what you've watched over the last month take place. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that helps education, empowerment to use our voice, and the confidence that the education is going to give us to have conversations and to be able to say, like, I don't know, like, help me out, like, I open my eyes. Like, so I just thank you for giving us 2 hours and 13 minutes of your time. She does not come, her services are not cheap. She is doing this pro bono. Thank you very much. But let me tell you, she is highly sought after. And I just appreciate you being willing to give up this much time for us. And if however we can ever repay you for that, please let us know.
It is my purpose and my pleasure. And I will tell you, the repayment that I would love, Coach, is honestly not from you, but from these amazing women that's going to be on the court. And you guys really listening and learning from each other, and starting with the humility. Because when you start with humility, when you start with, I'm going to humble myself, it just allows you to hear. It allows you to listen. It allows you to hear. And it allows you not to form opinions while people are talking, but just generally hear them for their experience. Because their experience doesn't validate and it doesn't negate your experience. And what happens is when we don't humble ourselves, we're looking for other people's experience Where does it validate mine, or where does it negate mine? And that's what we have to remove. We have to just listen with a humble heart and an open mind. And that, coach, when these young ladies do that, that's my payment. And then the next time I'll charge. No, I'm just like, no, that, because I want to end with this before we jump off. Ladies, now, I've given you instructions. Coaches got more for you guys. Coaches, team, y'all got that. Now, here's what I want to end with as it relates to my part. I need all of you guys to commit to laughing. I need you to commit to laughing. It is heavy out here. We are hurting for multiple reasons. But what we can't forget is the power of laughter. And that's why I've been intentional about throwing some laughter here and there, because nothing is funny. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing funny. But there is so much value in laughter. Laughter is not just about negating the realities of life by making something funny. Laughter is an emotional relief. It is one of the best forms of self-care. And what you choose to laugh at is not the travesties of life that are happening. That's insulting. You decide to laugh at the joy that is around you every day. When I look at my 13-year-old, I can't help but see the joy and laugh. There's some things that you just have to know in your heart. Where do you get your joy? It may be a funny movie and you just got to take a break. It may be a funny friend that they just, every time you talk to them, they just silly. But find whatever that is that allows you different points throughout the day to just laugh. You'll need that. You'll need that valve relief. Okay? So everybody's got to promise me. So in the chat box, say, I promise to find moments to laugh. Especially you, coach, especially you, because you got the weight of this. I promise to find those moments to laugh. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Okay. That's what I absolutely need from you guys. Thank you so much. It's been my purpose and my pleasure to be of service to you, coach, to the team, and especially to all these amazing young ladies. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm gonna close this out in prayer. I won't be long. And then we'll see you guys later. We're always here. If you guys need us, you know that. So, Lord, we just thank you. You know what? You never fail. You can do all things but fail. And you always show up right on time. So thank you for being present on this call. Your presence is felt. Thank you for guiding our words and our hearts and allowing us just to move and to be where we need to be centered in this space. I ask that you just continue to cover us, protect us, guide us, and lead us, Lord. Let us lead with your grace and your heart as we have conversations that are difficult and challenging. Thank you for putting in front of us who we need in order to be better as people, as a team, as young men and women who are leaders in our communities. We praise you, give you all the honor and glory. We thank you for the favor you have over us. And just thank you for all that you've done for us. Guide us as we come and go until we can be together again. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, ladies, I love you. You know where to find me. I'll be checking in on you. And last but not, I don't really have updates of anything else, but let me say this. Y'all have had a week to catch up on me because I haven't worked out all week long. But stay tuned tomorrow morning.
How are we coming for you?
Stay tuned tomorrow morning. My parents are back. Darius is back. I can now get back up and work out. I haven't worked out all week. So you had a whole week to catch up. You had a whole week to catch up. Shania's been talking noise on the side. Jenna just told me.
I ain't said nothing.
Hey, you had a week to catch up. Your week is over.
All right.
All right. Love y'all.
Bye-bye.
You too, Coach.
Love you too.
Love you too.